welcome to Indie Fireside, where we discuss everything about a game, all the good things and the bad things, and everything else that we can think about. Lots of spoilers ahead if you haven't played the game. We aren't careful about avoiding those, so that's all fair game. Just as the standard disclaimer. And so let's get started. It's Lisa this time around. I always make Zach go first and tell me what he likes about the game.
I dropped me internet connection.
No, you're back, I assume, since I heard you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, now I hear you.
Sorry.
Yes.
Man, I gotta fix this internet issue. Yeah, so
all right, so yeah, good things. Only
good
good things about Lisa.
Right, so Lisa is just to give people some background, this is an RPG, and you
kind of, yeah.
Okay, you disagree with that. Okay, right. So, and you are led through this journey, through this, for this very, what's the right word? Sort of anti-hero. He's an anti-hero, certainly. An imperfect hero, more.
Definitely an imperfect hero. Very possibly an anti-hero. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and so the main spoiler here, and I think we have to just get this out of the way, is it's a story about you failing at doing something, and maybe the inevitability of the fact that you have to fail at this. I guess maybe you could have made choices, but if you go the first step down this road, you're bound to fail. If you want to even try and complete this game, you have to fail at this. And so that's what the story's about. And so it's supposed to be a very depressing and sort of story, and so it definitely hits that target. I mean, we had over a month to work on this, and I put in a lot of hours playing this, and I still don't know if I know what to say about this game. I'm not sure that's a positive thing necessarily, but that's...
Did you complete it to the end, I assume?
I did complete it to the end, and I went back and I watched other people complete it from the beginning to the end, and I watched people play the original game that this was sort of a sequel to, and then the game that is the sequel to this game, and then I watched parts of some of the fan-made games, trying to understand like how to put this all together, and in the broad spectrum, there's a very rich story which is in no way spoon-fed to you. It's very kind of hidden. You have to sort of dig for it to try to figure out what this person's trying to say, but he definitely gets across clear as day, like the emotion and the feeling of going through this journey where you become a failure at the thing you were trying to do, even though you succeed at the thing you're trying to do. In a way, sort of, you fail and kind of destroy everything in the process. So that is about the most positive thing I could say. I think that I think that's what he was going for, and he hit it. I guess I'll open with that.
Yeah. Okay. No, I said yeah, sort of, but I mean it is an RPG, and in the sense, I guess it's not a traditional style RPG. I guess is all I'd say. Like if you what would come to mind when people think about an RPG has a different sort of gameplay. It's an RPG that has some elements of platforming and arcadey things in there as well, and that kind of thing. But I mean, for sure it is an RPG at its core. You fight things and level up.
It's very JRPG, in fact, right? It's very kind of Dragon Warrior-esque except for 2D, right? It's got like
but except that none of the things that you fight are random. That's one of the things that
with a few
differentiates
exceptions,
it. Yeah, with a very few exceptions, like in the dark corridor, there are some random things that pop up, but all the things, like even the things that seem like they might be reoccurring or random, you come back and they're all gone if you kill them. So like everything is dead if you kill it. It's not like Dragon Warrior where you walk around and you'll fight
you can
a million Drakies and slimes and whatnot. If you just keep doing it, they'll never all go away.
With like the snakes, you had to hit the snakes, and so I think there's always snakes, right? And there's
the snakes and whatever attacks you in the dark corridor.
Yeah,
I think those are the only randomized creatures in the whole game.
In the standard way you play through, there's a few sort of hidden off the normal path areas that have other things, but
But let's see. Going on to I really liked the gameplay of this game too. Not even so much the fighting, which is a lot of the game, but I more even liked the sort of platforming elements of it. That was really well done. A lot of it, I think. The fighting was fine. Just standard kind of. You select abilities and use them, and I thought it was that was good. I'm trying to think of saying only good things without saying but.
I know. So oftentimes there's like a caveat, but so one thing I will say about the fighting, which was I think was really good, was the combo system that they used. So I thought that added an extra bit of, I don't know, something interesting. I find that your normal sort of JRPG-ish sort of select the skill, everyone lines up the attack, you execute, and then you go by some sort of order of initiative or something like that down the line.
Yeah, well, you do that here too. Everyone has a speed that determines who goes when,
But so the combo system gives you like this extra option, whereas if you do memorize a fair number of your combo moves, you can actually change at a later date. It gives you an option to switch up depending on how things are going. In this particular turn, you can change your mind, which I thought was a cool mechanic. I really actually thought that it made like
after you select
aspect.
After you select it, you could just decide not to do that and do something else. Right. That's true. Yeah.
And so for people who had that option, which actually were kind of few, right? There was a few people who actually had the ability to do this.
Yeah, I only had two. There was the luchador and your main character. I don't know if there are others, but those are the only two I had on my
Tiger Man can do it, and Bo. If you ever got Bo, he was like a magic.
I didn't get either of those people, I don't think.
Bo in particular, he basically was like a support person only. So you could decide. In fact, actually, I've never played him this way, but in retrospect, it would have been a great idea. There was like an option to not use any of his spells, which might be heal or remove debuffs or whatever. But you could decide, if you had all that stuff memorized, at the time when his turn was, what you wanted to do, which would have been a huge advantage. The other bit of it was that there's like this slight bonus of you get to get the damage of hitting the combo elements. Yeah. And then you get the skill on top of that. So it was all, except for when you're in withdrawal, it was almost always better to do the combo system. Unless you tend to forget things, and then it's terrible.
Yeah. No, I didn't have them all memorized, but I always did the combo. But I often would have to go and look what the combination was, and I had like maybe 3 or 4 memorized at one time.
Yeah, like generally. Your go-tos, right?
Yeah, your go-to ones.
Probably never going to use Fireball 1 if you have like Fireball
3. Yeah, right, so. Fireball 4s. Yeah, yeah.
Unless you're out of spell points or something, right?
Yeah. So I thought the mood of the game, because you talked about the mood of the game, and I really much enjoyed that because it was like you say, like bleak, but in a fun way. It was like,
Right.
it was kind of, just really happy-go-lucky, bleak sadness and despair. So
Yeah.
I liked that. I liked that mood quite a bit.
Yeah. I can be down with that. So the other games in the series are a little bit more bleak than this one,
Okay.
which is kind of interesting. So this has a more like, the world ends, but we're gonna be goofy.
Yeah,
The
it's
other ones are
definitely
goofy
goofy.
too. Yeah, but this one's got more goofiness in it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a lot of the things. Well, it was hard to say when you're playing through it. It was sometimes hard to tell what was a significant part of the story and what was just silliness for silliness sake.
Right.
There's
Yes.
certainly a lot of that as well in there. Although I didn't mind it too much, even if it was kind of pointless silliness, it's still kind of just added to sort of a happy-go-lucky random weirdness mood, which I quite enjoyed. So
It's even deeper than that. I find that there's actually parts where you're not sure what's just like window dressing and what's like a puzzle that you can work on. I feel like some stuff, like there's a person on the roof that you'll never be able to get to, but then you might be killing yourself trying to figure out how to do that. There's actually areas like that you can
like the
sail
bugler.
to.
Yeah.
The what? Oh, the bugler, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I saw the bugler up there. I saw the guy up there, and as far as I know, you can't get up there. But I was trying to see what it was that was up
Right.
there,
Right.
and I noticed it was the bugler, and then I realized it dawned on me, he's playing the song.
Yes. Indeed,
That
that's
was
sort
great.
of a thing.
Yeah, that was great.
So kind of a spoiler, right? So a lot of the music has this bugler in it, and that character is sort of like the guy who's orchestrating a lot of the downfall of humanity in the story, which you sort of get hints of, and finally you get like the full story as you watch all of these. Like if you get every ending and you get like extra little tidbits of story, you sort of understand that this guy, he's the guy who like designed this joy drug. I don't even know. I don't even know if it's worth talking about that because it feels like it's kind of cheating to like talk about this sequel, and the prequel has really nothing to do with that. The prequel is interesting in its own light, and maybe we can touch on that a little bit. But that guy is kind of a guy who's orchestrating the entire thing. He's this guy, Dr. Yado, who you may have found notes about at some point. Like if you went near the Joy area, there's like a neighborhood with these weird ghoul-like people, creeps or whatever. Did you find that spot?
Trying to remember.
It had like dilapidated houses that with normal siding on it, kind of like a neighborhood, and you would go inside the houses, and these like white, veiny people would run at you and attack you.
Do you have to go to that area? Because I don't.
That's the thing. You absolutely have no need to go there.
So I don't recall that being the case. That
you can miss like big chunks of this game without ever knowing it, which is okay, and I think that's okay.
Yeah. I think that is a fine thing as well. It adds to some replayability, and it kind of makes it, gives it something.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little bit of a bonus for completionist people.
Yeah. So I know nothing, absolutely nothing about sequels or prequels. I had no idea that they even existed. I just played this game in a vacuum.
Which I think it has
definitely
to live in a vacuum. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, there is definitely some hints of a larger story. I certainly got that. And you are certainly correct that it does not spoon feed it to you. It certainly does not.
In fact, it doesn't, to the point where I thought it didn't really have like a well thought out story. But and whether it does or not, it actually doesn't really matter. I think that they do get that point across of what they're trying to, which is this story of failure, the story of coming to the end. And right, there's that line where it's like, you feel weird, you have become a failure, right? I mean, it basically tells you that right out.
Yeah.
They do spoon feed that to you, but that's sort of the goal of the game, right? To get you there.
Yeah. So I went through the game. I did not ever get to the very, very end. I think that where I got to is the last thing that you do, but I can't get past it.
What's the last thing you're doing right now?
What I'm doing is you have to fight all of your companions, and then you have to fight your way through like 50 million people, and then after you get done with all of that, then you have to fight Rando.
Right. Yeah, he's like the last guy here.
And I can get through the first two, but by that point, I have nothing left. I have no, resources left, heals, and my health is too low. I can't ever get past Rando after all of that. So I tried many times, and it's just impossible for me to do. I don't know if I should have leveled up more previously to handle that part, but it's just not possible. So that's the last thing I got to.
Okay. So interestingly is that that was like an extremely easy part of the game for me and for the person that I watched play it. Like at the point that we got there, we were like so overpoweringly powerful, and you're like in this weird rage mode. It's not even like normal gameplay. You can't like do any normal stuff. I don't even know if you can do like your combos at that point. Can you?
I think that you do. I don't remember.
You can do the bite. It's like you had lost both your arms.
Well, you lost one of. No, I didn't lose both of my arms. I lost one of my arms.
I only lost one also. You can get through without losing either, I think.
Really? Okay. Because I tried my best not to lose my arm. He tried to take my arm like twice, and I got away from it. And then like the third time, he's like, "Well, I'm taking your arm, and there's nothing you can do about it."
Oh, interesting. Okay, so I didn't know there was like a third time when he would take it. I've only seen the two, and I gave up my arm in the second one, and was just like, okay, I gotta have my stuff, So.
Yeah, well, the third time you don't even get a choice. Like he just takes it. She was like, "And I want your arm," and that's it.
The guy has a thing for cutting people's arms off. It's true.
Yeah, cutting people's arms off and cutting their tits off, and pretty much cutting everything off in this game.
Yeah, that guy, he's a weirdo. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, you have to kill that horde of people, and then you kill Rando, and then you hopefully, and I didn't pick up on this really, but you should have been realizing that you're turning into one of the joy mutant monster people during that.
I see. Well, I didn't even use joy hardly at all. Every once in a while, I barely used it.
Like if you use joy, then like you can destroy people. Like no matter what, you turn into a joy monster because like, you used it before the game started.
Right.
In fact, he force feeds you whatever 3.
Yeah.
There is like a perk if you don't use it during the gameplay, then you get like a special ending.
Oh, I see. Well, I did use it a little bit against Mike in the semi truck. I used it because I couldn't get past him without it.
And a completely unnecessary battle, but right.
Yeah.
Super tough. Yeah.
So yeah, but I got past him, but I couldn't get past Rando.
Yeah, he might be harder than Rando, actually. Well, I mean, just because you're so like, I don't know what's going on with you. I think it's because you're like turning into this super monster at that point. Anyway, you beat Rando, and you go and talk to Buddy, and you're like, Buddy, and Buddy's still like being a complete jerk to you because she's a child, and basically says you're a terrible person, and he's like, I did it to protect you. I wanted to like give you your choice so you weren't going to be raped by a million dudes and forced to bear all the children of the world. unless you wanted to, and then you're given the option, which is weird, to allow Buddy to hug you or not. Right? He says like. He said basically, will you give me one final wish will you hug me, basically? And then you're given the option of what Buddy should do. Either like say like fuck off or actually like hug him one last time. And then after that you die and Buddy walks off. And then the credits roll. And then the cool thing here is the credits roll and it's just normal credits, and then like stuff starts jumping in the credits and it'd be like kill, 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 or like you taste her. It's all her fault. Lisa, like stuff like you're going crazy, and then like it pops back up, and then you're like a joy mutant, and then you're like kind of crawling along, and you can crawl along, and if you crawl along to where Buddy is, then the game ends as you start reaching for her, presumably to kill her, and then the real credits roll. So that's like the ending of the game. So that's pretty cool way to end the game. I think that the implication there is that you attack her and that you kill her, although you find out in the sequel that she gets away because that buzzo guy who cuts off arms jumps in and saves her from you. But yeah, so I mean there's a little bit of a cool twist that you miss at the end, but it might be worth it just to see like that sequence, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I'll give it another shot, see if I can get through it.
You should have like 100 firebombs at that point, right? I mean, there's just so much.
Oh yeah, I use all the firebombs fighting the other people on the way up to him.
I mean, yeah, I'm surprised he's even able to hit you. Like, it's that much. Like, the people, like, they can't even hit you. The entire mass of people. I don't think I used a single firebomb in the entire fight. I don't think I used anything. I just sort of, like, kept doing head slides to...
I've tried again. One of the issues, though, is that it takes so long to get back to that point after you lose. So you die, and then you're sent, like, 20 minutes previously in the game. Not that, maybe 15 minutes, I don't know. And you have to go get on the guy, float all the way there, with that slow-ass floating cutscene, and then get off, and then go walk over to them again, die again, go all the way back to the island. Yeah.
So I guess I can't say I didn't lose in that area, so I didn't experience that. But right, yeah. Sometimes the save points can be a little bit further, but that's sometimes a good thing, right? It forces
that's the furthest one that I ever came across. The other ones seemed reasonable. In fact, a lot of times there were even save points right before big battles.
Right.
The designer seemed nice in that way until the very end. Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, one of the things about the save point placements is I actually liked some of it was that there were times when I was torn between do I want to fight that battle and go back to wherever the last time I saved, or I just want to accept the fact that this guy like has gotten permadeath and he's never coming back. Because there are those scenarios where people can just completely kill your characters and they're done forever.
Yeah, Mike does, and another person does.
Almost any joy mutant can do it, I think.
Okay, I only ran across 2 people that killed my guys.
Yeah.
They kept getting taken hostage, though, while I was asleep. That was annoying.
Yeah, super annoying, and you have to pay like too much money. I've never like actually paid up for that.
I've never
bothered.
I tried it one time, and I went there, and I didn't pay, and then I lost the fight, and so I never bothered after that. I'm like, well, he's gone. Put someone else in his place.
So there is that thing where, so that's what I'm saying, is like there's a thing in the game, oftentimes when you have save games, and you don't have like this idea of permadeath and stuff like that comes out of like roguelikes and stuff, then there's this tendency to just jump back to the last save if something bad happens. And certainly I did that a few times. But there's enough of a barrier there that it kind of tempts you, and several times I'm just like, oh crap, I lost what's his name, I liked him, but I don't like him enough to spend 30 minutes of my life going back and redoing this.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I like those features where you bring in that actual real life loss into a game, and this did a good job of doing that in terms of kidnappings, in terms of permadeath sort of events in game. I guess the The one thing that I would say was a piece of shit and should not have been put in the game was the Russian roulette. But that's starting to get negative, so let's see if there's any other. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so yeah, one thing that I was always wondering about is the mutant thing, and maybe this is maybe if I had played the prequel, I would understand more. I was wondering why. Well, first of all, I didn't ever understand at any point during the game what had actually happened to the world. Why there are no women in it. I had absolutely no clue what was going on there. And also, why is it filled with weird mutants?
Yeah, so the no women is never touched in any way whatsoever, as far as I can tell. The person read Children of Men, which was made into a movie, which I watched, so I'm an expert on it. But basically, that's a story about like where the human race becomes infertile and no children are born for like 15 years, and the way the world sort of falls apart because of that. And so I think the inspiration there is what happens if something happened where you lost all women on the planet. Like what would be the fallout? Again, not to get too negative, it's kind of a weird. I'm not sure what he thinks would happen, but
what he thinks would happen would happen.
I'm not sure the world will fall apart quite the way that So the guy who wrote this is Austin Jorgensen, I think, is the game developer, like a sole game developer, I think. But yeah, so just to put that out there. Yeah, so that's sort of that story. The joy mutant thing it's some sort of thing that happens after you take joy, and that does sort of come out of the story.
So you're saying that all of the mutants in the game are mutants because they took joy,
right?
Okay.
And in the sequel, basically everyone becomes a mutant.
Get that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not really clear at all, right?
I had no idea why people were mutants. I had various theories about why they're mutants. So one thing that you know, and it's mentioned at the very beginning, someone even says it out loud, but you certainly know that there is at least one other woman in the world, or at least was, because someone had that baby.
Yes. Yeah.
So what was on my mind the whole time is, where's that woman? And maybe, this is what I was thinking, maybe there are women in the world, but these guys over here don't know about them. They live somewhere else.
Yeah. In fact, I think that's true, actually. But because you're right. In fact, Buzzo mentions like she would have been helpful for the women or something like that.
Yeah, he does say something weird like that. Yeah.
So clearly he's referencing some others. I think this is like a localized men-only area, and there's no explanation of that whatsoever. In terms of what's happening with the mutant people, if you did find the area with the little like normal sided houses, like weird neighborhood area, you do find like notes there that tell you about some sort of program to try and develop a super drug to create military whatever, kind of like your super mutant Fallout stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it sort of failed, but the guy in charge of that was this Dr. Yado guy, and he got it in his head that he wanted to turn the entire world into these mutants, and so he started spreading this drug all over the place with the help of this Buzzo character.
So to tie in the women thing with the mutant thing that I forgot to do.
Oh yeah,
I got up on that. Is that so I another thing that I thought that possibly might be the case is that all of the women were turned into mutants, and so the mutants were actually the women, and you just didn't know it, and so we're going around fighting them, but those are actually the women. It came to my head that might be the case, but
that would be super cool, actually.
Yeah.
Although they're super powerful, so they actually are something which is like supernatural in a way, or at least like, not human. It almost would be more cool if they were somehow like it was an affliction of the men that caused them to look like that, but they actually were normal women. That would be, I don't know, but that's a completely different reality. I think, unfortunately. But when you first meet the first joy mutant you meet was first like a guy who was just sort of hanging out, and he's like, "Oh, so smooth" or something like that. When the first time you talk to him, and then you come back, and then he like has mutated into this weird blob. I don't remember if you remember that first guy you meet. I think he had like
in the very beginning. That was a long time ago that I played.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. It was hours and hours ago. But yeah, I think the first one you meet, he's a normal human, and then the next you go off screen, and then you come back later, and he has sort of like melted.
So the people with the white faces and the big smiley things, obviously those are like joy people, but I didn't get that every mutated thing in the game was from joy.
So those people who have the white face and smiley face, those are just actually like people who are wearing a mask that go around. They're just like a gang member that distribute joy. So they control the joy flow.
Well, yeah, they clearly like the stuff. That's true.
Yeah. Like I said, if we start poking holes in this story, I think that it's gonna fall flat. There's something that he had underneath there. I don't know if it was like 100% fleshed out, 100% thought through when he started. And like I said, maybe it's not the point of the game. Maybe it's the point is to get these emotions across, which I think it does hit well.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a very entertaining game. Very well made. The gameplay works well. I like that there's only 5 buttons that you use in the top. Well, you do the combos with the WASD keys, but other than that, you just it's just space bar and arrow keys.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, do everything, which is
like B to get
nice
your menu
and simple.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah. And a couple other things occasionally, but yeah, nice and simple. Was glad to get a bicycle because walking was really slow.
Yeah, a little bit slow. Never was glad to get a motorcycle because it was just terrible.
Oh yeah.
I thought the motorcycle sequences were pretty bad, but
yeah.
I don't know. It's nice to have a little arcade section to the game.
Yeah, and there were some like really kind of like Super Mario-esque parts too. They're like dodging, hammer throwing people.
Oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So like this game is kind of all over the place in some areas.
So I guess this is a good time to point out. So this was made with RPG Maker. I'm practically certain. And I think RPG Maker has it was never designed to do any 2D stuff at all. Like RPG Maker is supposed to. Yeah, I think it's supposed to be top-down, sort of kind of Dragon Warrior-esque sort of gameplay.
Well, that's 2D as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I meant like side scroller. It's not supposed to do like side scroller things.
Yeah, I don't know how well it does that kind of stuff either. I have seen other stuff made with RPG Maker that's side scrolling though, because some people entered into the adventure game challenge that I run, some RPG Maker games that were side scrolling games.
Okay, I might have to retract. I everything I said. I thought that it was the case that he was doing something which was very out of the ordinary in terms of technical capability of the engine, but maybe that's not the case actually.
Yeah, I don't recall ever seeing an RPG Maker game that had that much action sequences, but I have seen it where it's side-scrolling, walking back and forth on it. So it might be a plug-in for it or something that does it. I don't know, but I've seen it. But I've never used RPG Maker ever once, so I don't know anything about it.
It does seem a little bit constrained in terms of I don't know. For making this game, it might not have been the right engine for it. Maybe. Even though it is an RPG.
That's what he knew, and so.
Well, that's what I think, right? I think that's what he knew, and I guess I wanted to give him some props for using something in a way that maybe wasn't intended to use, but certainly he accomplished what he needed to with the tools that he had, and so that's
I think he did a phenomenal job. It didn't it didn't stink of RPG Maker, if you know what I mean.
Actually, I don't. I don't play any RPG stuff at all. This is probably the first thing I've ever played.
It is certainly possible to make very good games with RPG Maker, but it's kind of the same old thing that you get sometimes with people's perception of Unity, right? It's like powerful engine that you can do lots of great stuff with, but there's so many people out there doing crappy stuff with it that it gets a bad name. That kind of thing.
All right, good. Oh, other good stuff. I really like the music in this game. The music was pretty amazing for what it was, and I understand it might be not everyone's aesthetic, but I actually kind of like that aesthetic. It's not the sort of thing I would listen to in my off time, but it fits the game perfectly. And it's so like goofy at times that it just, oh man, like, and when you go into there's the people lifting weights and it has like the grunts and stuff in the music. That was
the same music awesome. That's in the wrestling rink.
Yes, right, yeah, right.
Yeah. That's the piece that sticks in my head the most out of all of them too. It's that one. it's so ridiculously silly that it's good. Yeah. And it's obviously meant to be like annoyingly silly, and which is what makes it so entertaining.
Right. But then there are times you're like, this is like a pretty nice little song. I like this song, you know? It's and then sometimes it's just pretty ear-shatteringly bit-toony more than it needs to be. And you're just like, okay, well, that's
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've said all that, and that's a good transition into the bad things with the ear-shattering bit tuniness. So what do we not like about this game, Zach?
Let's see if I consult my notes here. Okay, I'm going to say this because I just said that we should ignore it and it should be okay and it should stand on its own merits. The story is really weak, and I wish it was more story. There was a more fleshed out story that I could sink my teeth into.
Yeah.
I feel like I went back and I watched the prequel playthrough, or not prequel. It was an original game that was called Lisa that he made. It was very artsy, and it was about a young lady who was sexually abused by her father, and like kind of like a dream exploration game, and it was really pretty artsy and cool, and it was completely different from this, except for the fact that it was the impetus in a lot of ways, and that their character was the brother of this Lisa character. In this game, Brad is the brother of Lisa.
Okay. So it takes place after this game.
No, so basically, Lisa is the lady who, the title screen has hung herself. Wait.
Oh, I see.
That's not Buddy, right? We should be clear on this.
Oh, okay. Okay.
When it starts up, Lisa is the character who has hung herself, and so she had killed herself because of the sexual abuse from her father. Brad was the brother. Was not able to protect her from that, and so he blamed himself for her death. Basically, that's the backstory on Brad, which is why he's like so messed up.
Okay.
And why he wants to protect Buddy so much. So that's a pretty cool thing, and that little artsy story doesn't have to have a lot of story. It can be nebulous and just sort of give out that feeling. But when you get into like Lisa the Painful, which is this game, like you gotta have, I think, more flesh in that story. You have to have more like it has to be I need to have like more to it. It can't just be sort of like this nebulous thing and then have like this feelings. We're not playing like an artsy game as much anymore. We're playing something which is more a 10-hour at minimum ish sort of involvement. I think I need something else. It can. It's not like no longer like a 3-hour like fuck around simulator and where you sort of get a feel for something. Okay, that's my main complaint here, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of what I would. I don't think that there's anything that's really particularly stands out as being bad in this game. The story is. It's not all there, it doesn't seem like. That is true. It is sort of a... But that didn't bother me as much as it seemed to bother you, even though I do like a good story in games. In this one, it didn't really bother me that much. I was kind of okay, kind of just getting hints about things and using my imagination about what might be going on. That was kind of okay with me in this game. So I wasn't, so I felt a little bit differently about that. Although certainly it is the case that it does not at least seem to have an incredibly fleshed out story. Let's see. One thing. The thing that I think I would say is the most negative to me about this game was the combat. Even though that's a lot of the gameplay of the game, I did not like it. Whenever I got into combat, I'm like, geez, fucking this again. I gotta do this combat thing and choose this and press the buttons. I liked walking around and talking to the people and becoming a prostitute and all of that stuff, and doing all the weird stuff and meeting the weird people. And I even liked the motorbike portions, even though you didn't like them. I liked the motorbike portions, but I did not like fighting things. I thought that was not very fun to me.
I actually didn't mind the fighting portions. I mean, I don't know. I thought they had a lot of interesting sort of mechanics which are not typically there, like the addiction mechanic and how that plays into combat, drinking and how that plays into combat, and like I already talked about, the combo system I thought was pretty cool. It made it at least fresh enough that I enjoyed it. I actually don't mind turn-based combat. I feel like the JRPG sort of thing is a little too minimalist for me oftentimes, but I think that I can stand the combat. I think actually
that was the part
didn't
that
like the whole walking around, because people have one thing to say, maybe two things to say, and then that's it, it didn't feel like there was that much to explore to me. There was areas that you get to. The game the world is pretty big, I would say, for I guess the scope of the game.
Yeah, it's very, very big. Probably bigger than I know, since you've already mentioned at least one area I didn't get to. Did you go to the resort?
So I did not in my playthrough, and then I heard. Actually, I found the resort map, and I didn't realize what to do with it. So I watched someone else go to the resort. The resort. What is the point of the resort?
I could not find any point of the resort. No, I went to the resort, and there's nothing to do there. Absolutely nothing.
There's just a bunch of weird noodle-faced people. And the playthrough guy, he somehow found a way into the secret area where you can get some other items and actually not fight it.
There's a secret area. No, I just found absolutely nothing there.
And it was also stupid. I was like, okay, seriously? That's like you have. It's like this game where you have to go to every square, every location, try to press space on everything. Uh, I don't know. Like I'm not gonna find stuff if that's what you expect me to do. I don't know. You have to give me a hint, you know.
Yeah.
And then the
Yeah.
worst thing
There
was
was
like that
that
secret
blob
area.
blocking the stairs. That might be
Yeah.
the secret area, I guess. Yeah.
So the blob marking the stairs. If you go in one of the rooms, there's a crack on the ceiling, and that's supposed to be indicative that you can jump up through the ceiling there.
Really? Oh my
Yeah, you
god.
can jump on the armoire or the dresser and then jump up to the ceiling, which
Wow.
I thought was already cheap. The bigger, cheaper thing was somehow, and the person who was playing it had no idea how, and I certainly couldn't tell how, but somehow he like opened a little hole. If you get to the very top level, it also makes no sense, but there's like a television with like an attachment with your father's head, like kind of like as like a weird, uh, I don't know, like I don't even know how to describe it, but your father's head is sort of like floating around attached to this television for some reason. Who is someone who haunts you, right? So maybe it's a hallucination. I don't know. But you go up there, there's nothing there. Then you go and you search the rest of the entire hotel again, and then he goes back there, and there's a hole in the wall magically. And he goes through there, and there's like some items you can get. Nothing really impressive, just some items that he took, and I don't know. The whole thing was like it's stuff like that makes me like, what do you? I don't even know what to make of that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So like, if you've gone to the resort and nothing was there, what do you make of that? Because that's basically what it was. There's nothing there.
Yeah. So that comes back to something that I said, in the good portion, and I was going to say but I held off, is the fact that I like to a certain extent the silliness of it. It didn't bother me too much most of the time, but at the end of the day, there's just too much randomness sometimes. Too much just okay. At some time, every once in a while, it feels like this game was made by like a 12-year-old. Just like
yes. In fact, that's a thought that's in my notes a lot. It's like a child's interpretation of how the world would work if all women there's a sense of humor here which is juvenile. Yeah, and maybe that's okay, but there's definitely I'm on board with that. I mean, if you read Children of Men, it's all about how to cope with this idea that the world is petering out and the human race is going to die off, and how it causes conflict and stuff like that. It's not about our currency is now nudie magazines, which nudie magazines would become more valuable if there's no printing presses anymore and there's no women to look at. I'll give you that, but it's such a juvenile thought, and I don't know. I don't know exactly what to make of it. I mean, I'm down with it. I like the game, but it's
Yep. Yes. Let's see what else. I don't know. Yeah.
I would recommend people not use RPG Maker. Seems kind of crappy. I'm gonna say that in terms of when I started this up, I couldn't even read text in the game. In fact, I don't know if I should bring up technical issues, but
no, by all means.
Technical issues, and I go to the forums. I look up what the technical issue is, why there's missing letters and missing words in the dialogue. And it's because you're using an Intel graphics driver. You can't use Intel graphics drivers. You have to. If you use NVIDIA, it'll be fine. Seriously? I have to move and use a NVIDIA card? Or I can run it in legacy mode or something, where they an older version of RPG Maker or renderers. I don't know. It makes me wonder if this is a useful tool to be using. But
I mean, other than this one, I can say I cannot think of a successful game that used RPG Maker, but there probably are some that I can't think of.
Well, there's this one cult classic
chat
which is this shoot. I think Yumi Nikki was an RPG Maker, maybe. Maybe
don't
someone
know.
can. It's like I think it was a strong. Um, uh, it was a shoot. I feel like I don't have words anymore that I can say. But it was a game that inspired the original Lisa game, which is like a dreamscape sort of exploration
Okay.
game, which I believe is an RPG Maker game. But other than that, I'm not aware of anything that people are talking quite a bit about it. There are several fan-made games for this, which are very popular and actually quite well done. So that's actually an interesting thing about this game is that it has like a cult following. People love this game, and they've spent tons of time making games which are as big as the one we played, and potentially even better than the one we played. In particular, there's this game called Lisa the Pointless, which is a story about a completely different character who it happens in this one. In fact, all of the fan-made games sort of happen in parallel to this one because the world kind of ends at the end of the next one-ish.
Okay.
So it's sort of like people telling the story of other characters that sort of
Mm.
tangentially touch maybe, or maybe completely never touch the main storyline. That's pretty cool. I like it when people do that, when people just sort of take an idea
Yeah,
and then expand upon a universe.
that's
And then make
pretty cool. Yeah.
like professional, really good quality stuff. It's really awesome. And sometimes they give it away for free, which is also awesome. So,
Nice. Yeah, that sounds like a good community. Definitely good. I think that's a really cool idea.
How did you feel about all the choices you had to make? Was it an
I
awesome
didn't
part
feel
of the
like I
game?
had all that many choices.
Yeah.
There was the choices of should I kill this guy or give me your stuff or something. Right, cut
Right.
off your
Give me
arm
your
or
arm
kill this
or
guy or
yeah.
yeah, those kind of things. But there weren't a whole lot of choices. It didn't seem like to me.
So one of the interesting things about this game also is that this is a Kickstarter game. It's pitched on Kickstarter based off of his original Lisa game, and he says exactly what he's trying to accomplish with the game, which is cool to see exactly what the person wanted to accomplish and whether he
Mm-hmm.
achieved it. And one of the things he really wanted to accomplish was to have like these lots of strong choices that made stark differences in how the game not how the game would end, but how the game would have to be played throughout.
Okay.
And so losing your arm was supposed to be like a huge shift in gameplay. So I avoided losing my arm until I had to lose it. And actually, I didn't notice much change in gameplay after I lost my arm, to be honest. I lost
Your
it.
combos all change.
Yeah, they all changed, but they're still there. Oh, well, no, that's not true.
Yeah, they're not
They
all
do
still there.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, you
The
have
ones I cared
fewer of
about
them,
were,
and
I guess that's what was going through my head. The ones I used were still there. I could still fireball. I could still like head slide. Those were kind of my go-to things.
yeah. Yeah, and you had fewer keys because one of them was your arm.
It was almost easier to do combos because there was less to remember.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. I didn't feel like. I mean, yeah, I do have the choices that were there. All three or four of them that were there. I thought they were well done. They really did make me think. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Do I want to do this or this? Both of them are terrible options. Yeah.
Yeah, in particular, I really like that cut the nipple off versus is it kill? No, cut your arm off, right? Or is it kill the person versus?
It was cut your nipple off,
or
cut
kill
her
everyone.
nipple off, or kill all of your companions. So I'm like, yeah, of course you're gonna cut her nipple off. There's like 3 people's lives versus a nipple. Sorry, the nipple's gonna go. But still, it's like it's an excruciating decision, right? To tell her to cut her nipple off. Yeah.
Do you remember taking that course on game design like way back when? And I don't know. I attended the ethical dilemma workshop, which I think you said you had done a previous year.
I do recall that being something that I did, although I don't recall right now what happened in it. But
that just like that instantly brought me back to that time when he was like, the way you make ethical dilemmas is to pit multiple like ethical frameworks against each other, because none of them are consistent. Like, well, there are inconsistent problems that are inconsistencies between them, and none of them are right. So you clearly are like me, and they're very much like a consequentialist sort of thinker, where you say, what's the end result? You're going to lose 3 people versus your nipple, whatever. But then there's like these other modes of ethics, which are what is deontological, which is I don't know which one is the other one, but that slicing the lady's nipple off goes under as a bad thing. But there's some sort of like code that we have where you shouldn't do this to this helpless person, and so that's why this spurs like this ethical dilemma inside you. And I thought, like, okay, this person knows what they're doing, right? They're hitting that ethical dilemma well. Even though like you go through the math and you're like, okay, well, you're talking about like 3 people's lives.
And
However,
essentially, the girl is like your daughter. I mean, you've had her since she was a little baby, so
right,
there's that. Yeah, and those other people are just
protecting them.
Some fucking dudes you met that like an hour ago, and
and you find out that basically they want to rape-ish maybe
at the end
your daughter.
At the end you find out that they're assholes anyway, but you don't know that at the time.
And then you know that they're assholes the whole time, because the entire time you planned on like leaving them behind for the final trek. They were just helping you get there to the point where
that is true. That is true. Yeah.
So I actually really like that. I like the okay, we got to go it alone, and then I got to kill the guy who brought me here, because he's also like a complete asshole too.
Yeah.
I also like, there's a fan theory that your teammates who show up on the island, Rando Island, there's no way that they could have gotten there. So I don't think they were actually there. I think that's like an active fan theory that they're like a hallucination. But how did they get there? There's no way to get there. There's no boat. You had to go through this whole problem to get a boat, and they just show up magically on this island.
Yeah.
You're clearly like not of the right frame of mind.
2 islands away, because you go to the first island, and then you gotta go, and then suddenly they're there. How'd they get there that quick? Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Although you are passed out. Who knows how long you're passed out on that island?
Oh right, yeah. After you kill Marty, your dad. Or whatever.
Yeah. So the thing is, so you're saying that I had no clue about because I didn't play it. So you're saying that in the previous game, that guy, his dad, was sexually abusing his sister.
Yes.
And killed her, and that's why he hates him so much.
Yes, which is why he like can't forgive him. And even when you say don't kill him, which I was like, okay, he clearly is a different person. Don't kill him. He's still like, I'm gonna kill him. Like, did you say
I said don't kill him. I said don't kill him, and he still because that's what confused me. I mean, it kind of was a few flashbacks of like him saying rude things and that kind of thing, but not anything like worth like beating him to death over. But okay, see, that's another one of those things. I'm like, wow, why is my character such an asshole? Like, just beating this old man to death, his old father to death. Which
is part of the problem. Like, I got into this game and I'm like, okay, it's like I'm not understanding what's happening here. And then I watched other stuff and I'm like, I'm still not understanding. It took like the entirety of the corpus of this to sort of get like I sort of get it sort of thing going on. I think that's a problem, if that's what it takes to You have to explain as you go, right? You have to the point you're at, you have to understand what's going on. But
when he got here, and this is another thing that confused me, when you walk into the room, his father calls the girl Lisa. He says, "Lisa, honey, I wouldn't eat those if I were you." So that's why I was like, "Oh, is that the?" See, it never mentions the name, everywhere else it's Buddy, and like, oh, maybe Buddy is a nickname. Maybe her name is Lisa, because I had no idea who Lisa was before this, right? But he calls her Lisa, so I'm like, oh, maybe her name is Lisa. I don't know. The name of the game's Lisa. Somebody has to be named Lisa, but apparently not.
See, yeah. So I feel like you would have gotten more of the game if you had took it upon yourself to go and like research a bunch of stuff. Again, not a good sign for a game if you have to like do some background reading to understand where you're at. Because you probably didn't know that there was a game before this, because it's kind of like it's not for sale.
It's not called Lisa 2.
Yeah. The original game was called Lisa. Go on the RPG Maker forums and find it and play it. So I don't know. That's I don't know. That's, to me, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I still like the game. I think it was a good game, but yeah, there's definitely some things that I could have done better.
Right, we're kind of arguing between like a double and a home run or something. I mean,
yeah.
If they had fleshed out some story and given you some more understanding of why Brad is acting the way he is, I think it's an amazing game. And I would say, in spite of the fact that it's in a weird sort of genre or setting, maybe not genre, but I guess I'm not as. Actually, I'll just retry that. It would be an amazing game if it were more grounded and you understood what the motivations were.
Yep, and if the combat wasn't as tedious, as far as I'm concerned. But, but yeah, I mean, it wasn't always so tedious, but towards the end, it was just, I was getting kind of sick of fighting things. It's just started getting repetitive after a while to me. In the beginning, it wasn't, but it just did. It started to.
I think I had that same recollection. It seemed like in the beginning, you didn't have to fight everything all the time. It seemed like there was more choices, and then eventually just because let's just start fighting. Okay, whatever. Just we gotta fight. We're gonna get it over with. I think I have that same epiphany at some point. It's just like, I know I'm gonna have to fight you eventually. Let's just do it. I think it happened around the time when you get to like the Wally burgers or where you find the guards and it's like, there's nothing I can do to get past you. Let's just fight, and I'll kill everything on this mountain to go and figure out what's going on. Because
and then I'll kill everything else that I see on the top of the mountain, and then
that's another big part. Like, oftentimes I go into something, I wouldn't know what the motivation is. Like Wally burgers, what's the motivation? Just to figure out what's happening? Like, okay, I'm gonna kill everything just so I can sort of see what you need to give me like here's the problem, here's what you're trying to solve, now go to it.
That's absolutely right, and that is the case in this game. A problem that you sometimes see in games where you just end up doing things because it's the only thing that you can do. You do need a little bit more motivation to do some of the things that you do in this game, or else you just end up being an asshole, basically. By the end of the game, I was just like, well, this character's just a complete dickhead. That's who he is. He's just a dickhead. He just goes around murdering people all day long for no apparent reason, running people over with fucking bulldozers. And
that's true. That is true.
That guy's just a supreme asshole.
Right, yeah, that bulldozer thing was a bit but there's like, clearly all those people were like normal human beings that need to die. That's a good point. That was like the whole, as awesome as it was, the cutscene with Horace Dinkle or whatever, Horace Finkel, I forget, where he's like fulfilling his dream of being a bulldozer driver.
Oh yeah.
Was awesome. It just makes me want him to survive and not for Brad to survive in a way.
If only he were a better bulldozer driver, she'd be alive. Yeah, that was fun.
But the flip side of that is, clearly it's part of like this progression where you're supposed to like learn that you're destroying everything, right? It's about you thinking you're the hero at the beginning, and then become like you're supposed to come to the end and be like, oh, like I'm doing the wrong thing, and that's definitely supposed to dawn on you by the time you fight Marty, and like Buddy jumps in front of him and is like, don't hurt him, and you have to like beat up the girl in order to beat beat your dad. Right?
Yeah. By that point,
you're just like, fuck this guy, I don't like him anymore, but I'm gonna keep playing because that's, I don't know. At that point, I still felt like, okay, I still want to protect Buddy. You know, like she doesn't understand what she's doing. She's still in danger. So I mean, it still works. It's just like you're supposed to hate the guy by the end. You're supposed to kind of be okay with him, like losing in a way, which he kind of does. That's my opinion.
Yep. All right. Well, I think it's about time to wrap this up. We've been going for about an hour or so. I don't know what time we actually got started, but probably about time to say our last thoughts. Great game. Highly recommend it. Really fun game, despite a few things that we can nitpick about. I think it's definitely well worth playing.
I would say if you're gonna play this, I would say go back and play the original one first, the original Lisa game, and understand what he was doing then, and then play this, and then probably go and play the one after it, and then you may understand what's going on, and get like a full rounded picture of what's going on. Yeah. But I think it's worth it if you do that. I'm not sure it's 100% worth it if you don't, but I don't know. It's,
I had fun. I didn't know any of the others existed. I had fun playing it. I thought it was a fun time to me.
Some quick thoughts on RPG Maker, by the way. RPG Maker, you guys were talking about how it's side-scrolling and stuff like that.
Yeah.
My guess is if they didn't kind of gut the engine and make it work for their purposes. I know there's like tricks like how they used to do back in like the 90s with I think it was Doom or Quake or something like that, how it was technically top down, but they made it look like it was a first person shooter, or in this case it would be a side scrolling type of thing. So there's ways to trick, basically trick the player into thinking what they're playing is a side scroller, even though it's technically top down.
I think that there is some mod or plugin or something. And the reason I think that is because there were two games that were made with RPG Maker that were both side-scrolling games. And someone commented and said, someone who made one of the games commented on the other game and said something like, he's using the same mod that I'm using, or something like that.
Okay.
So I think there's some kind of mod or plugin or whatever you use with RPG Makers that does that.
The other thought on RPG Maker was that I think Zach was saying how he doesn't think it's a very good tool. I think yes and no, because there are definitely better tools to make games. Even these RPG games, you can do it in Unity. A better version in Unity because it's more versatile. But the thing with RPG Maker is that it can be for people who maybe don't have the experience in coding, and they can still make what many people think. I'll leave it to people's opinions about Lisa, but there are games that are critically acclaimed, like To the Moon, for instance.
Oh, is that RPG Maker?
It is.
Ooh.
You make those kinds of games that have won awards, and not just in the forums on RPG Maker. You know what I mean? Like legit awards. So you can, if you know how to use it correctly, you can get to that point, even though there are better tools, generally speaking.
We should think about To the Moon for a different another.
I'm not sure how much that costs. It's probably not that expensive, I don't think.
It must be pretty cheap. It's fairly old at this point.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys again for hosting Indie Fireside and talking about Lisa. And I believe, if not sometime tonight, maybe tomorrow, Vance will be making his pick for this for January.
I will indeed, yes.
So keep an eye out on the Discord server for that announcement, as well as Twitter. If you don't follow us there yet, we're on Twitter at IGR Podcast. And then, of course, below the live stream, as well as the recorded version, if you're watching like YouTube or on the website or something like that, it will be in the comments a link to the Discord server. You can join there and play the game and join in the discussion if you'd like to have one on in the meantime on Discord before the actual stream. You're welcome to do that as well. And then eventually come on the stream if you want.
Yeah, definitely. We always like as many people as possible talking about the game, so anybody wants to come on, please do.
Lastly is tomorrow, assuming Ian's all good, we will be starting back up with IGR Podcast after the little holiday break there. And yeah, so that said, I'll let you guys say your goodbyes.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in to the Indie Fireside, and I'll see you the next time.
Okay. See you.